Critical thought. If I were to ask you right now to define critical thought, what is your answer? What is the description, the definition that comes to mind? What is critical thought? Why is it important? And most importantly, how can you learn or hone this skill, not just for yourself, but how can you equip your teams with this skill as well? Because here's the thing. If you don't have the skill of critical thought, if your teams do not have the skill of critical thought, you cannot effectively lead through crisis. Without this skill, your crisis-ready capabilities are lacking. Fortunately, this is a skill that you can learn. This is a skill that you can strengthen and hone, and this is a skill that you can empower and equip your teams with. This is precisely the topic of our upcoming Crisis Ready Mastermind on May 13th at 11 a.m. Eastern. So hosting this upcoming mastermind are Rob Keller, retired public information officer for the U.S. Army, and Maxine Herr, public information officer for Morton County in North Dakota. A little bit about them and why they're so great for this conversation, for hosting this conversation. In 2016, Rob was tasked with being the lead public information officer during the management of the Dakota Access Pipeline protest. If you guys remember this protest, it was a very, very meaningful protest that lasted for 234 days and claimed the attention of the world. Over the course of this 9-month span of nonstop protest, Rob led a team of over 15 PIOs, of which Maxine was a key part. When I spoke to Rob recently, he said that he credits critical thought as being a key component to helping him and his team overcome the many dynamic challenges of this crisis, which led to me, of course, saying, come and share your learnings and come and share this lesson and everything you know about this and have experienced from this with the Crisis Ready community, please, please. And to which Maxine and Rob both graciously accepted. So Rob and Maxine, welcome. We're really looking forward to your mastermind on the 13th, on May 13th. And leading up to it, so we wanted to just have a quick conversation leading up to it. Can you give us a little taste of what community members are going to learn from this session?
Well, first of all, thank you. And we're excited about for Maxie and I to be on here and to just kind of a little teaser of what to expect for in May. But critical thinking is a sought after skill in business. It's something that you probably it doesn't probably come naturally. It's something that you have to learn, and having some mentors in your life or some experiences you went through to give examples of that. And so that's what we want to show you in May as well. What did we go through to develop that? And then adding on to that, another thing that I learned in the military, second and third order effects. Your first order of thinking is fast and easy. We don't give any think about it. But the second order of thinking is more deliberate. And it's always asked the question, and then what? Once you make that decision, and then what happens? And when that decision happens, and then what? And on and down the line. And because of that, in the case of the Dakota Access Pipeline, we were able to look at future events before they ever happened. And that helped the entire team that we put together to be a good resource for the leadership that were in that. So, and Maxine was a great confidant as well. And it came to this with a lot of background in that critical thinking as well.
You know, when we work for people, they are looking to us to be trusted advisors and a credible source. You know, not just somebody who's on autopilot. Critical thinking provides you with the skills to really analyze and evaluate information so that you can obtain the greatest amount of knowledge from it. Honestly, extraordinary performance comes from seeing things that other people can't see. So when you can begin to think, what happens in 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years from this decision? That's how you can develop your critical thinking. So you think about a business decision, you have to ask yourselves, how are others going to respond? How will your employees deal with it? What will your competitors likely do? How about the general public? Who may be offended? I know that's a big one. That's a hot topic nowadays. Everybody's offended about something, but you do still need to think about that. Often the answer is going to be that there's really no impact. There's nothing that's going to be too difficult to overcome, but you want to understand the immediate and the second and third order of effects.
And in a crisis though, that's, in regular business, oftentimes it's definitely a great skill to have so that you're thinking ahead and you're seeing all the different dynamics and the way that they may play out. So you can make an informed decision based on that. But in crisis, it is more important, I think, than ever, because emotion is already high. So when you talk about people getting offended, it can be people getting offended. It could be people misinterpreting because you chose language or the delivery of a communication that was not intentional. And therefore what you meant to say is not in fact what you said and not how it landed.
As leaders, we have to make sure, especially leaders in our field, and protecting the brand that we work for, it's extremely important. And so we only probably in many instances only have one time to make it correct. What we're going to talk about in May is a little bit of this. Throw examples in there. We'll throw some charts in there, some processes that you can take a look at, questions that you can ask yourself or your team. Are we really doing critical thinking? Or is it something that we're just talking about, or are we actually executing it? And Maxine and I will pull out together, coupled with real live experiences, some that didn't work, those that did work. And I think when you walk away from this, you'll have a better feeling for no matter what situation you go through, the critical thinking or thought, as you mentioned, Melissa, and second, third order effects will help you to realize, looking at that crystal ball and make those big decisions that we need to, which we're being paid the big bucks for. And so our brand is protected.
I love it. I'm excited. I'm very excited, actually. It's going to be a phenomenal conversation. Maxine, anything you want to add?
To say, we all have, plenty of examples and different things to think about, but one example I like to use from during DAPL, it's such a simple thing, but it could have been disastrous, was when it came time to clear out the camps at the end of the protest. And there was a mess. There was a lot of garbage and whatnot. We had hired a waste management company to come in and clean out the camp. And someone, this meeting is really, everybody's tired, right? We want it to be over. We're done with this. And someone said, well, what about the teepees? And someone said, well, everything goes in the dumpster. Well, as public information officers, we said, hold on, no. Immediately, we think of that optic of we can't have, teepees sticking out of a dumpster. But more than that, we think about what is that going to do to the relationship that we need to rebuild with the tribe after all is said and done. And of course, once that was pointed out, they realized, no, that's ridiculous. We shouldn't do that. And honestly, it wasn't as if these were, authentic teepees. A lot of them were just remnants of things and materials that people put together to form a shelter. Nonetheless, we don't want to be the ones to be disposing of those. And so being able to bring that critical thinking and really looking at what does this do to us in 10 minutes, 10 months, or 10 years, being able to see that and alert the leadership of what they're, the decisions you make, what that's going to do down the line.
I love that example. It's an important example because I'm assuming here, but I'm sure that the thought process, the idea of we'll just throw them out, what's the easiest way to go about this? We have to clean up. There was no ill intention, I want to believe, in that. And yet the consequence would have been, to your point, making your world even more challenging on rebuilding trust and rebuilding connection and relationships. It's really important. And what I love is that a bunch of things, but that it's a skill set that can be honed. It is something you can teach yourself if you feel that maybe it's not something that it is a skill that you do want to hone, you want to strengthen. It's also something you can bring your team so that you're not alone in it, which in crisis is very, very important to have that support team that works together. So for everybody listening, May 13th at 11 a.m. Eastern, this is a crisis ready mastermind, which we host regularly. It is exclusive to crisis ready community members only. If you'd like to learn more, crisisreadycommunity.com. We of course offer a 15-day trial. So if you want to sign up 15 days prior to this event, come and check us out. Check out what the community is all about, what great presenters and leaders that we have to come in and initiate these discussions. Essentially what happens every month is we have phenomenal leaders that come in and say, here's a really important topic. We're going to present on it for 25 to 30 minutes. And then we open up the floor for the remainder hour to the community to have a discussion, so that it's not a keynote, it's not a presentation. It really is a mastermind where we learn together and we grow together. Rob and Maxine, I'm really excited. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with the community and for taking the time to give this little teaser to everybody else to get them excited as I am to come into this event.
Thank you so much. We look forward to it.
Yes.